All right. Several weeks ago, found myself reading the book of John, and chapter 9, we started talking about the man that was blind from birth, and he spit on the ground. You know the story where he spit on the ground, he made some mud and put it on his eyes, sent him to the pool to wash his eyes so that he could see again. And I thought, I know someone like that. In fact, we all know someone like that. We were all born blind. Yeshua brought us to the point where we could see. I thought that was interesting. And then there's another man that was blind. And we'll talk about that story in Mark chapter 10, verse 46. Then they came to Jericho, and as Yeshua, his disciples, and many people were leaving Jericho, a blind beggar named Bartimaeus, I believe you pronounce the name, son of Timaeus, was sitting by the road. When he heard Yeshua from Nazareth was passing by, he began to shout, "Yeshua, son of David, have mercy on me." The people told him to be quiet. But he shouted even louder, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Yeshua stopped and said, "Call him." They called the blind man and told him, "Cheer up, get up, he's calling for you." The blind man threw off his coat, jumped up, and went to Yeshua. Yeshua asked him, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man said, "Teacher, I want to see again." Yeshua told him, "Go, your faith has made you well." At once, he could see again, and he followed Yeshua. Mark 10, verse 46 to 52. "What do you want me to do for you?" Yeshua says. The blind man, "Rabbi, I want to see." What do you want Yeshua to do for you? I want to see. There's no question that we have many people in the world who are physically blind. Sometimes we know the reason they have lost their sight, and other times it's unknown. There are people who have sight, but the images are not clear and things appear as shadows. There are children who are born blind because some part of their optical system did not develop. On the other hand, there are people in the world who have perfect 20/20 vision, as indicated by the eye chart, but are blind as to what's going on around them. They're so concerned about their own life and their own needs and wants that they are oblivious or unaware of the people around them. Both you and I know some of these people. People in this group tend to stick together and associate with those who think and act and do and live the same lifestyle. Fortunately for us, Yeshua is not like this. Yeshua is not impressed with the things of the world as some people are. He's not interested in what people possess, but he is interested in what they need. He is not interested in only the upper crust of society, but he is interested in all of his children, regardless of whether they are rich or poor. Yeshua reaches out to those who have small or big concerns. He's not blind to what is going on in the world. He's not blind to the sinful nature of mankind. He sees what's going on in our life. He sees what we are doing or going to do before we ever do it. Yeshua is not blind. Some people are impressed with large crowds of people and who follow them and listen to what they have to say or observe what they are doing. But Yeshua is different. He doesn't object to multitudes of people following him, but he is interested in and ready to assist individuals in their time of need. There are times when we, you and I, have been approached by someone in need or someone who wants to talk to us, but we put them off because we have something else to do. We may be in a hurry and choose to ignore their cry for our attention. That's the way many of Yahweh's children treat other people. But we need to thank Yeshua for showing interest, for showing compassion, for showing understanding and love for us when we approach him with the same concerns over our mind. Yeshua is not blind. Yeshua was in Jericho and was in the process of leaving the city with his disciples and heading for Jerusalem. He was being followed by a multitude of people who knew of him or who were curious about him and what he was saying. In Yeshua's day, it was very common to see beggars sitting along the streets. Jericho was a resort city with many people coming and going, so naturally it was a profitable place for beggars. Today we call them panhandles. Imagine being in the crowd and seeing Yeshua and his disciples moving out of the city. Crowds are not usually very quiet, so imagine them being quite noisy. Now imagine one little lonely voice crying out for help. Could you have heard that voice? I don't think so. At times we don't even hear when people are talking directly at us because we are not tuned in. If we were like Yeshua and followed his footsteps, our attention would turn from the noise of many to the voice of one. With Yeshua, there is no crowd too large that he cannot hear a single voice, a single cry, a single request for help. And we are so fortunate, and yet we're so blind. Yeshua is not blind, nor is he deaf. His attention is given to any person who desires it. Yeshua does not sleep or slumber, but he is always on duty. He always has time to care for the need of his children. He's never in a hurry because he considers you the most important and most precious. Yeshua and his disciples and the crowd moved along the road. One lowly voice cried out, "Yeshua, son of David, have mercy on me." Mark 10:47. What a beautiful request. Yeshua, son of David, have mercy on me. He did not ignore that request. He did not say something like we might say, "I'm sorry, fellow, I'm on my way to this big important meeting in CEO at a convention center and I don't want to be late." No. Yeshua didn't do anything like that. Yeshua stood still and commanded him to be called. Mark 10:49. Yeshua was aware of Bartimaeus just as he was aware of each of us. He knew about the blindness just as he knows about our spiritual blindness. In the very early days, blindness was thought to be due because of some sin. But Yeshua proved that to be false, and John recorded the incident as follows. And his disciples asked him, saying, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Yeshua responded with these words, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned, but that the works of Elohim should be revealed in him." John 9, verses 2 and 3. Yahweh's mercy is upon each of his children, and Yeshua proves it by reaching out to everyone in need. The blind, the deaf, those with cancer, the lame, and any other person in need can call upon the name of Yeshua, and he will lift that burden from them and give them healing according to his word. The crowd surrounding Yeshua warned the man to be quiet. They thought, just as some people think today, that the needs of some are not important as the needs of others. This man doing the yelling was blind. He was poor, lowly, and he was not worthy of Yeshua's time or his attention. So they told him to be quiet. Just like the first story I mentioned where Yeshua made clay and rubbed it on the guy's eyes. Even then, after he was made to see again, after he washed in the pool, the ministers of his day were not happy. How did this happen to you? What did he do to you to get you so you can be blind? They called his parents. Is this your son? You said he was blind. And he stands here, you can see. Even the parents were afraid to answer back. He's old enough to answer, you ask him. So the crowd doesn't like it that this guy's asking. He's just a poor blind man. The people did not understand that each of Yahweh's children are important to him and deserve what he has to offer. Yeshua said, whatever things you ask in prayer, believing you will receive. Matthew 21, verse 22. Our requests must be in line with Yahweh's word. In other words, this is not like a blank check that we just fill in, but the requests must be in line with the principles of Yahweh's kingdom. With a very strong faith and belief, our prayer requests will more likely be granted because it will follow Yahweh's guideline. Bartimaeus was sitting on the lowest rung of society's ladder, but this did not make any difference to Yeshua. It does not make any difference today. Yeshua values every person and is concerned about the needs of each person. When people are crowded together, as in some of our larger cities in this country and throughout the world, people problems multiply. Some of these areas, sickness runs rampant because of the living conditions. In an effort to continue to survive, people in these areas do things they would normally not do. When they are lonely and destitute, the evil takes over and sin occurs. People are at the bottom of the ladder, facing problems and issues beyond their control. They will do abnormal things. Some will destroy themselves through violence and drugs and alcohol or some other means. Other people who are very low and facing issues which they know they cannot handle, but realize there is help available, will be like Bartimaeus and shout out, Yeshua, son of David, have mercy on me. These are people who have issues in life, but fail to recognize those issues. They are blind to the fact that a leader of the world has taken control of their life and leading them down the road to destruction. This is not physical blindness, but it's spiritual blindness. Yeshua knows about these people, and he is standing with arms outstretched, ready to receive them if they will only seek him. I want to share a story with you. Back in the 50s, there was a well-known radio host, comedian, songwriter in Hollywood named Stuart Hamblin, who was noted for his drinking and womanizing and partying, and who knows what else. And one of his biggest hits at the time was, I won't go hunting with you, Jake, but I'll go chasing women. And one day along came the young preacher holding a tent revival, and Hamblin had him on his radio show, presumably to poke fun of him. In order to gather more material for his show, Hamblin showed up at one of the revival meetings, and early in the service the preacher announced, there's one man in the audience who is a big fake. There were probably others who thought the same thing, but Hamblin was convinced that he was the one the preacher was talking about. Some would call that conviction, but he was having none of that. Still, the words continued to haunt him until a couple of nights later, he showed up drunk at the preacher's hotel door around 2 in the morning, demanding that the preacher pray for him. But the preacher refused, saying, "This is between you and God, and I'm not going to get in the middle of it." But he did invite Stewart in, and they talked for about 3 hours. And as they talked, tears began to flow from Stewart's eyes, and he began to sob. And then he got down on his knees, and his eyes were opened, and his blindness to his spiritual needs was healed. And he cried out to God, "Jesus, have mercy on me." Now, Stewart was one man called forth by the Holy Spirit to set free from his addiction to worldly endeavors which were leading him down the path of destruction. He now saw the light. His life was changed. His old ways were abandoned, causing him to lose his radio show because he would not permit a beer company to sponsor his radio show. Being a new Christian, he tried his very best to write music that would glorify God, but he had only one that was really accepted. That song was entitled "This Old House," which was written for a very close friend named Rosemary Clooney. Stewart struggled to make ends meet, but times were extremely difficult for him. One day, one of his dear friends by the name of John asked him this question: "Is this religion you now have really worth all that you've given up?" Without even thinking about it, Stewart responded with yes. John asked him if he had difficulty struggling with his new life that did not include drinking, womanizing, and attending wild parties, and Stewart replied with these words: "It's no big secret. All things are possible with God." John indicated that those words sounded like a song. So Stewart then wrote the song, "It Is No Secret." The chimes of the song rings out the news. Another day is through. Someone slipped and fell. Was that someone you? You may have longed for added strength, your courage to renew. Do not be disheartened. I have news for you. It's no secret what God can do. What he has done for others, he would do for you. With arms wide open, he'll pardon you. It's no secret what God can do. There's no night, for he is light. You'll never walk alone. You always feel at home, wherever you may roam. There is no power you can conquer that can conquer you. Well, God is on your side. Take him at his promise. Don't run away and hide. It's no secret what God can do. What he has done for others, he'll do for you. With arms wide open, he'll pardon you. It's no secret what God can do. Now, Stuart Hamblin's friend John was John Wayne. Billy Graham was the preacher who Stuart visited in the early hours of the morning. Bartimaeus called out with the words, "Yeshua, son of David, have mercy on me." Stuart got down on his knees and said, "Yeshua, have mercy on me." What Yeshua did for these people, he can do for anyone who asks. It makes no difference what rung of the ladder one is on according to society, because as we have learned, Yeshua is the same yesterday, today, and forever. In Hebrews 13, verse 8. Satan is at work today, just as he was back in the days of Bartimaeus. We may blame the crowd for wanting Bartimaeus to be quiet, but in reality, it was Satan at work in the hearts of those people. As we know, Satan works in such subtle and clever ways that people do not realize they are being used. He works the same way today. There are people in the world who are unhappy, miserable, and hurting because of their lifestyle due to some addiction they have. Many of them know there is help just a prayer away, but their friends, under the influence of Satan, keep telling them this is their fate. These friends are thinking about themselves and not about the person seeking Yahweh's help. The friends are blind because Satan has caused them to live according to his standards, which are in direct opposition to Yahweh's standards. Bartimaeus kept calling out to Yeshua. And Yeshua heard him. People who keep calling out to Yeshua today will get the same response from him as did Bartimaeus. Bartimaeus had faith and he had hope. This was his opportunity to put that faith into action. All of us have been given a measure of faith. Because of the kindness of Elohim has shown me, I ask you not to think of yourselves more highly than you should. Instead, your thoughts should lead you to use good judgment based on what Elohim has given each of you as believers. Romans 12, verse 3. And it's up to us to exercise that faith. Yeshua tells us, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. Matthew 17:20. And he told them, because you have so little faith, I can guarantee this truth. If your faith is the size of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. A mustard seed is extremely small. A small amount of faith can achieve that which seems humanly impossible. The mountain Yeshua is talking about is any obstacle or obstruction or issue that tends to prevent us from doing something or conquering a problem we are facing. When we exercise our faith, put into action, believing that Yeshua is still in control and what we want to accomplish is in accordance with his will, it will be done. You said Yeshua was leaving Jericho and heading for Jerusalem. I'll stop and think for a moment. Yeshua would not be traveling this way again. Yeshua was on his way to the place where he would pay the sin penalty for each and every one of us. Did Bartimaeus know this? No, he didn't know this. He didn't. But Bartimaeus had one chance to reach out to Yeshua, to get his attention and present his request. Can you see now why Satan was working through the crowd to prevent this from happening? No human being knows how many days of earthly life they have left. Those who have not accepted Yeshua, their Savior, may miss the opportunity. In this case, Yeshua is not traveling by or moving away, but people choose to ignore or pass up the opportunity to reach out and ask Yeshua to come and dwell in their hearts. Each person must take the first step and say, Yeshua, have mercy on me, as did Bartimaeus. Yeshua will do for each of us what he did for Bartimaeus when he stopped, stood still, and called him forth. He healed the blind. He healed the paralytic, the demon-possessed, the mute, the lame, the epileptic. He raised the dead. Since he is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, he can do the same today. Nothing is impossible for Yeshua. Yeshua is with us because we have invited him to live within us. He wants to live in all of his children, but he will not force his way in. Salvation begins with the cry, Yeshua, have mercy on me. Yeshua is not passing us by, but time is passing and running out for each one of us. Yeshua said, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Find this in John 10, verse 10. He wants us to live life on the highest possible level. As we live for him, he lives for us. When we dedicate our life to him by following his example and his word, we are building up treasures in heaven. Yeshua said we are the salt of the earth and the light of the world. In Matthew 5, verse 13 and 14. You are the salt of the earth, but if salt loses its taste, how will it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled on by people. You are the light of the world. A city cannot be hidden when it is located on a hill. If we are the salt of the earth, everything we do should exhibit a positive effect upon all those around us. If we are the light of the world, then we should shine forth to show others what Yeshua is like. Yeshua is not blind, but many of Yahweh's children are. Physical blindness is a reality and spiritual blindness is real. One who is physically blind can spend eternity in Yahweh's kingdom. But one who is spiritually blind and misses the opportunity to ask for healing will not be permitted entrance into the room prepared in the heavenly mansion. Bartimaeus called out, Yeshua, son of David, have mercy on me. Yeshua called him, come forth. And he healed him. Then he said, go your way. Your faith has made you well. Every one of Yahweh's children has that same opportunity today. And Yahweh bless you with mercy.